This is Raj Soren, the founder of Blackman Mindset Coaching and Consulting. And we're very fortunate to have Debra Blackman, the founder of VIESSENTIALLY. And she's going to give us a rundown of what she does and what she offers. But do subscribe if you do like the channel. And Debra, welcome today.
Well, thank you, Raj. It's lovely to be here.
Excellent. So tell me a bit about your background and what led you to VIESSENTIALLY.
Yes. So this isn't the usual background that you will hear people say on this podcast, but it's absolute gives context to why I'm doing podcasting and why it's so great and how I teach and train in it. So I'll kick off. I'm an abuse and trauma survivor from childhood. I lived in fear for most of my young adult life. And unfortunately, that then led to serious mental health issues moving forward. I became a very successful individual within the corporate banking side of things and also international operational management consultancy. The reason for that is I was a chronic people pleaser. I was addicted to people pleasing. I was highly conscientious and very empathetic because I had to be to survive. The other thing is I adopted a lot of different personas. So I would walk around, see somebody that I thought what I admired or that they had a particular way about them. And actually I used to think, well, how would that be from me? So nothing from myself was authentic. And good old COVID, that came. And I was put in a situation where I had to be with me, myself, and I, 24 hours a day, pretty much what seemed like forever. And it was too much for me to bear. And I had a nervous breakthrough. And that's very important to know because actually it transpired to be the best thing that had ever happened in my entire life. Basically, I thought I was going to end my own life. I'd made all the preparations to do so. I was in a very dark place. I was just about to do the deed, as they say. And please don't feel sorry for me. Please don't think I'm a victim because this changed the trajectory of my life. It was at that moment that I truly believe I was spoken to by God. You can call that the divine. You can call it the universe. It felt right to say God. And I was given a purpose. I was given the purpose that literally scared me witless. I was told by this entity, because I thought I'd gone completely mad at this point, that I needed to set up a platform from which I could share my message, as I'm doing to you now, and also to help others share their message, share their voices, so that they could be seen and heard and valued for the unique individuals that they were. And I said, no, I think you've got the wrong person. I don't talk in public. I am frightened in front of any kind of stage. But the entity came back and said, no, this is for you. And at that moment, I surrendered. I surrendered to this purpose because it just felt that that was the only thing I could do at the time. And it was at that moment that I had the most incredible transformational experience. It was like light was shining through me. It was coming into me. I felt joyous for the first time in my life. I felt that I was on top of the world, that I'd created a little bit of heaven on earth, that I truly knew myself to be, as we all are, the miracles that we forget about every single day. And it was from that moment on that my podcasting journey started. And I will let you get a word in now because I've spoken a lot, but that was the reason why I set up my podcast. That was the reason why I pushed myself through every single thing of being uncomfortable, fearful, not wanting to do it, because I knew that that was my ultimate purpose. That was my big reason why, and I've never looked back.
Well, thank you, Debra, for your honesty and candor with sharing so much information about the trauma abuse at the point of taking one's life. And that is a lot to unpack. And you know, I take my hat off to you for getting through those tough times. Is there anything else you'd like to share on some of the things you've shared there around trauma and what will help the audience? Because you've hit rock bottom at that point, but then you said you have a breakthrough rather than a breakdown. So tell me a bit more about that if you feel you want to share more.
Oh, yes, I'm very happy to share that, Raj. So it transpired that, just to know my circumstances at the time, just before COVID, I made the unenviable decision to refurbish the rather large property that I bought because I wanted to turn it into some flats and live in it in myself. And I'd taken it back to brick. Well, not me, but the builders had. I'd got plywood over the windows. I'd got a camp bed, a Primus stove, which is a camp stove, and a sleeping bag. Some functioning water out of a tap that I had to boil, and a functioning toilet. Those were my living conditions because I thought this would be done in a few months. So I thought, well, why not? And it was at that moment that the breakthrough happened, when it could have been the most bleakest situation. Now, I know I changed in a heartbeat. I changed, as I believe, from a cellular level. Everything about me changed. The circumstances as they saw them in the camp stove and the camp bed and the sleeping bag hadn't changed. That was still there. But it was my perception of what I was now living and the opportunity that I had. And it just felt that I was truly blessed to be alive, that I was truly blessed to have the experiences of all of the experiences in my life to that point, and all the experiences that I was about to have. But my lens of perception, the way I looked at things, changed completely. Instead of thinking that my life was an unforgivable burden and that I wanted to divest myself of that burden, I actually felt that my life was a celebration, something that deserved gratitude, something that could be joyous, something that had endless possibility, because I'd realized that I was here with humankind, with humanity, with the universe, with God, as part of the collective whole, rather than being isolated. And it was that power and that knowing at that point which has made me and will always make me see things in a way which is a miracle that I am living every single day of my life. And that we go to the gym, for those of us who've gone to the gym, and we think we're going to work out, we're going to strengthen our muscles, we're going to run faster, we're going to get stamina, we're going to be more resilient, we're going to improve our health, we might want to lose weight. I don't know about everybody else, but every time I've been to the gym, it hurts. It's painful. It takes a struggle to get there, because I know at some point in that training, I'm going to be out of breath, I'm going to be struggling to breathe, I'm going to be having aching muscles that feel really painful as I'm pushing a weight, or that I'm going that extra speed on the treadmill. But we come back and we think we're doing it for the right reasons. And over time, our bodies get stronger. Our lungs are able to breathe through the running. We feel that what we did at the beginning isn't so bad, and that we've got used to that now. And the next challenge that we have is painful. So I look at life in a way which I know now human beings weren't built for comfort. We weren't necessarily built for happiness. We were built for responsibility, duty, care, love, abundance. And that all comes with hard, determined, and consistent work. And it's to rejoice in that work. It's to give thanks for going through those growing pains. For me, it's about taking everything and realizing that I am the painter of my own picture of life, that I have to have the dark as well as the light colors in there to make a really enriched and wonderful painting of my life. And if that darkness wasn't there, it would just be one-dimensional. It wouldn't have the same relief and the same beauty to it. So in my mind, we need it all. And that's when I realized that pain and suffering is a perception. And actually, if I look at things in a way for growth and development, all of that can be part of something that's bigger than me, that I'm driving for my purpose. So that's what I'd say about my breakthrough. It took me from feeling like a victim. It took me from feeling like I was worthless, that I couldn't make a difference, that I was cursed, into knowing that I was a miracle, that I am capable of things which I can't even dream of yet, and to say yes to things that frighten me a little, that push me, that drive me, that put me into circumstances like on stage that I did recently in London to 1,500 people to talk about my experience. I have a voice. I don't have the ego to think I'm amazing and I'm wonderful for arrogance. I just know that we are all amazing and wonderful, and I'm one of those people that are in that community. So that's what I mean about the breakthrough, because it literally was seeing the world and myself in a completely different way.
Thank you, Deborah. So for highlighting that journey. You've probably heard this expression before: God tests people he loves. And you've been tested with all different challenges along the way, and so many people have sort of near-death experience, illnesses, mental health issues, all these different things. But that builds a person and builds this resilience muscle that we talk about. You go to the gym, you get muscle, but those paradigm shifts you've had in your mind, the acceptability of a miracle happening to you, the fact that we should be grateful about, how wonderful we are as human beings. So what message can you give to individuals who are going through similar tough times?
That there is always light, even in the darkest of moments, because I've been testimony to that. I was living in the darkness in my house that had plywood on the windows because they'd taken the windows out. I was living in darkness in my being, in my heart. I'd made a prison which I'd voluntarily put myself in, and there was never any lock on the door. I could have walked out at whatever time I wanted. It just took that step to move out into freedom. So I would say to anybody that's struggling, anybody that's feeling inadequate, anxious, low, depressed, suicidal, you are a miracle. You are an amazingly wonderful human being. And the chances of being a human being in this life are so small. It's like winning 1,000 national lotteries. To be chosen to be a human being is such an amazing thing in itself. But that we are all miracles. The way that our eyes work, the way that our bodies work without us even noticing, the way in which we can see or hear or taste or touch. We are unique, each and every one of us. We are powerful, each and every one of us, even when we feel that we are weak and that we can't do anything and that we're useless. We are so powerful, even in that state. So I would say to people, don't give up. Always know that there is light. Even when we can't see it, light is amongst the darkness, and you are not alone. And that's the voicing with the podcast, video and audio podcast. I wasn't somebody in front of the camera that was comfortable. I wasn't eloquent. I couldn't speak the way I speak now. It's been through podcasting that I've developed over time and will continue to do so, the skills and the abilities to tell a story where I'm not frightened anymore of using my voice, of having myself out there to let people know that there is that hope. And so I teach and train podcasting. I was a reluctant podcaster, absolutely thought it was going to be terrible. And in fact, it was the best thing that happened to my life. So what I would say to people, apart from podcasting, come to podcasting, speak to me. I'd be very happy to help anybody that's feeling reluctant, anybody that's thinking I couldn't do that, because that's where I was. And it wasn't that long ago. But one of the things is keep trying those little things, that even if it's for a minute or 30 seconds, do something and just sit with the fear for a little bit and then have that little bit of a breakthrough. And give yourself a very well-deserved pat on the back for being as far as where you've got right now. because in that next moment in time, you can take the next step and the next step and the next step. And what they said when they went on the moon was one small step for man, one huge step for mankind. You look back and you think, oh, I've come such a long way. And the journey's never straight up. It doesn't all happen with roses round the door and everything happening great. Things happen in life. It happens to me. And you think, oh, okay, I hadn't thought that would happen. I didn't want that to happen. But how can I use that experience to enrich myself and potentially to enrich others? Because it's in the service of others that the greatest achievements can be made.
That's interesting. Now, people are scared of listening to their own voice or seeing themselves on camera. So how do we help people overcome those fears? Because that's sometimes something that holds people back.
Absolutely. And it was me. And anything that I'm doing, I'd absolutely say to people, I have gone and I've failed myself at doing this. So what I say to people is think of a loved one or a great friend that you have, and don't think of yourself being mirrored by the camera. In the back of your mind, in your mind's eye, think that you're speaking to that person. Hold them in your mind's eye. Don't necessarily look at the camera thinking that it's you that's projected. Think about talking to your best friend, to your soulmate, to your loved one, your husband, your wife, your grandma, your grandfather, your aunt, your uncle, your child, your mum, your dad. Think of people that you can be completely yourself with and speak to that person when you're delivering something to other people. And it's one of those things that then you go into your authenticity and you remove the persona that you might put on when somebody clicks record or you're going live. You're there talking to a friend. You're there talking to a loved one. And they're eager to hear what you're saying. They're eager to look at you. They're eager to be in your presence because that's who you're speaking to.
Well, that's great advice. I think some people are sometimes scared of criticism. Once they've done the podcast, then what people are going to say about me? They're going to say I'm terrible, those type of things. So all about handling those situations.
Well, I think our harshest critic, if I'm anything to go by, is ourselves, to ourselves. We're the ones that go, oh, I should have said that, or I didn't like the way I looked there. Most people are very supportive for people who they know have pushed themselves outside of their comfort zone to try it. And that's the thing, you tried it. You're in the 1% who tried it. So if somebody said, oh, well, you shouldn't have done this or you shouldn't have done that, just know in your heart, take that on board and go, are they right? Could I have improved? Because sometimes those criticisms can be the best thing that's happened to us. So on something that I had recently, a gentleman came and I was writing a proposal and he came back and goes, I don't understand it. And that hurt because I'd spent a long time preparing that proposal. And I thought, okay, has he got a point? Is that point valid? And I looked through and I thought, I'm going to take it to heart and I'm going to change something. And then when I did, he came back and went, that's amazing. I'm going to share that with my board. So it's all about not thinking of necessarily our pride or our ego, but thinking of us as a vessel to actually do the very best that we can with this vessel and not getting too attached to our own emotion about it. And you've got to check and think, was that person right in what they said? Did they have a valid reason for saying it? Because some people aren't very nice and they might be jealous of you and they might want to do you down because there are people out there that do that. So you have the option. And I always say with advice, you can use it, lose it, or abuse it. And so from that perspective, I would always say, be discerning and see, you know what? Was there something I could have learned from that? And if you think, no, I did a really good job, then hold to that and know you did a good job because you were the 1% that tried. It's very easy to be an armchair football manager. It's much more difficult to be the football manager out there managing the pitch.
I very much agree. So have you got any simple tips for people for planning their podcast?
Do something that really gives you passion. Do something that you know that you can talk about it for hours on end without drying up with information. Do something that you're passionate about. And that way, you'll be able to speak from your heart and from your zone of genius. So I always say, speak about something that you're passionate about, and don't strive for perfection. I think there's I won't say the name here, but there's a big sport brand that says, just do it. Get out there and do it. But not, oh, I'll see how it goes. Put 110% behind, I will do it. Because you can't give yourself a get out of jail card free, oh, it didn't work because I wasn't really, expecting it to. When you do it, really go for it, really want it to succeed, really get behind it, because it's that when things do succeed. Because as we know, if you play sport half-heartedly, you won't win. If you bring up children half-heartedly, you won't be a great parent. Everything that you do, if you do it with the best of your ability, you'll know that you'll get things right. You'll get things wrong as well, but that's all part of the learning journey. So I'd say don't give yourself too much of a hard time. Start something and then work on it as a work in progress, rather than thinking you've got to get it all right before you start. Because I'm learning every day. And that's what I teach and train people in. It's my job to know, and I learn all the time. And we would never think that even a guru in something would know everything. And as beginners, we're beginners, so we shouldn't know everything. So we get started, and then we've got an open mind, and we be creative, and we don't settle for half best. We only settle for full best. And then that podcast will grow. And don't think it will be the same necessarily that you started, because it will morph and change and flex. Because guess what? We do as people. So it should do as well. And market conditions, or the way that you feel about it, new subject matter, etc., different types of guests. And so that it's always evolving into something that's better than the Lux version. We do that with mobile phones all the time. We don't expect the mobile phone we bought 5 years ago to be the most current now. And that's exactly the same with podcasting.
Brilliant. Thank you. So what are the upside for people to do podcasts for their personal life, or for their branding, or for financial gain?
So I teach for business purposes in the main. I do teach people who are employees who want to raise and elevate their value within their own marketplace. I would say audio and video is very important. Now, Spotify has a video side to its business where you can host platforms. Now, here's an amazing statistic. In the last year, Spotify's viewers of its video platform rose by 70% in a year. So you think about what that means for video. YouTube is the second most visited site in the world. It's the second most used search engine in the world. People want video that they can look at, that they can get their entertainment from, their education, their inspiration, their news. People are moving away from turning on the television perhaps and looking at mainstream news and media. They're wanting something which is far more accessible, that they can then think, right, okay, I want to look at this, I want to look at that. For businesses, it is a natural addition to your social media. A podcast can be used as an anchor to be able to repurpose all of the information and put it on as blogs, into newsletter, LinkedIn. It can be used in TikTok, Substack, wherever you want to be, because ultimately that content can be repurposed. So it's a very time effective and very cost effective way of doing things. You don't need fancy equipment. You don't need a studio. In fact, I teach charities how to get fundraising improvement on the free version of Zoom, because I believe that you need to put your money into where the cause is mostly needed, and that's not in all the marketing. I would say for anybody that is in business, if you think about the race to get a website, the race to get a LinkedIn account, the race to get your Facebook account, this now as a video platform is something which is growing exponentially. The business in podcasting is going to go to about $507 billion in 4 years. We're talking about over a 5x increase in what the revenues to that industry are going to be. It's like most things. If you're not on it, you're not in it. So to do it properly, I always say training is great because you can learn from people's failures quicker. You know that you can fast track with your training, not make the same mistakes that I did, and be able to have something where I hold your hand so that you actually upload episodes and you come onto my channel as a free guest to put your guesting training into practice. I also offer free hosting as well, so that when you do the training, I come on as your guest and you practice your hosting skills, so that all the way through that training, you have your handheld, not left to your own devices. And I promise you, I will give you what you need to actually have a successful podcast without lots of listeners, subscribers, and followers, and a big viewing audience, because we don't need to work on podcasts like that. That takes a lot of time and money. I help people to make money from their podcasts pretty much in day one without that. And so it's an amazing way of opening doors into new clients. And I would say anybody that's interested, I have a free 30-minute consultation. You are very welcome to jump on board and say, yeah, let's have a chat. And I promise you, I don't sell to you because I don't need to. This sells itself. It's such an amazing opportunity.
Brilliant advice. So lots of benefits for doing podcast and to raising the profile as well as for businesses. That's fantastic. So how do people get a hold of you, Debra?
Yes, so I'm available on email, and that's DB for my initials, Debra Blackman, at VIESSENTIALLY, that's V for Victor, IE, double S for Sierra, ENTIALLY.com. Also on LinkedIn, and that's going to be linkedin.com/IN/Debra, DEBRA, Blackman, BLACKMAN. And you'll find me on there. And do connect with me. Let me know that you've come from Raj Soren's program. Have a free consultation with me for 30 minutes. And we can chat everything that you need to know about podcasting and how to be a great guest on a podcast, because not many people know the process. And that's something that once you've got that, you can use it in any other circumstance where you're interviewed or even when you're at networking events.
Fantastic. Well, Debra Blackman, founder of VIESSENTIALLY, it's been a real pleasure to have you on board on my interview today, and wishing you success and helping lots of people to become podcasters. And for the rest of you, do subscribe and share this channel. Take care and see you soon.